Okay, so yesterday we were in the middle of discussing the three-way machlokes as to when the isurim of Baltolan and Baltovoy apply. But we had a three-way machlokes. First, we had the shita of Achecha of the Tanakama, who holds that Ger Tzedek is included in all of the, a Ger Toishin is included in all of the prohibitions, all of the Isurim of Baltolan, which argues with our Mishnah, because our Mishnah says there's no Isur Baltolan, but there is an Isur Baltovai. And the Brisa of Achecha also says that it applies to Beheman Kalim, which is also similar to our Mishnah. And then we have the Shita of Rabbi Yosy bar Yehuda, who says that Ger Toishav does have the Yomer Titin Schore, which is Lois Pasove, but it doesn't have Lois Solim, which agrees with our Mishnah. But the problem is by Beheman Kalim, all of the halachas don't apply. So that's not consistent with our Mishnah either. So our Mishnah ended up being a third Shita. The Gemara wanted to know, how is it that the Rabbanan know that you apply all the halachas of Baltolan and Baltovoy? How do we know it applies to Beimam Kalim? Zogt Gemara, we have Exer Sham of Schir Sir. Wherever it says Schir, it applies to everything. That is as far as the Tanakama. Rabbi Yosy bar Yehuda holds it doesn't necessarily apply to everything. So the Gemara was going back and forth now to understand how each of these Tanoim learned the three psukim, learned how do each of these three Tanoim learn the various psukim that are relevant to the sugya. So really, this shakla v'tayr started up in the middle of Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Beis. It probably is kedai to chazer a little bit and to go back. Okay, so Zog to Gemara, going back almost halfway up on Daf Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Beis, just so we can get the flow of the Gemara. So the Gemara asks, "My timer, the Tanakama the Meachecha, who applies all of the halachas to a Ger Toishav as well as to Beheman Kalim, Zog to Gemara, Gomar Schir." It says, wherever it says the word Schir, which is in all the psukim that discuss this Isser, we can apply all of the halachas. Mager Toishav, Behema v'Chelim are Isra Boy. We were marbid from the first pasuk that the Gemara discussed. The Sharecha, the Chonvelois, the Artzecha, the Rabbis, Behema v'Kelim. So too, all of the halachas of dealing with the worker apply to all these things. Rabbi Yosy bar Yehuda, he doesn't apply all these halachas to Behema and Kelim. So he doesn't have this Gzer Shav of Sacher. Zok to Gemara, Nidla Gomer Sacher Sacher, Behema v'Kelim, Mishub B'yoymoi, Titin Schori, Naminachai. Why did Rabbi Yosy bar Yehuda say that there's no chiyuv of Baltolan for Behema v'Kelim? If you actually look at the psukim as they're quoted, the pasuk says B'yoymoi Titin Schori, right after it says Oy Migercha Asher B'Artzecha B'Sharecha. Asher B'Artzecha B'Sharecha is the pasuk that's marbe Behema v'Kelim to all of these halachas, and directly the next pasuk could be Yomer Titin Schorei. So why doesn't Rabbi Yosy bar Yehuda agree to the Tanakama that the halacha of Yomer Titin Schorei applies to Behema Kelim even without the Gzer Shava of Sacher? Zok to Gemara, Tani Rab Chananya says that Rabbi Yosy bar Yehuda has a special pasuk to exclude Behema v'Kelim. Omer Krav v'lo Shavai Olav Hashemesh Ki Anihu. What's the reason behind the chiyuv to pay a worker right away? Is because the person is suffering from a lack of money. Mishein boyin l'de'aniyos v'ashiros. That's who the Torah covers with these isurim. Yotzu behema v'kelim. Behema and kelim don't have a bad day at the office. They don't have aniyas. Shein boinu they aniyas v'ashiris, and therefore they're excluded from the halachas of Baal Tolim. So Rabbi Yosy bar Yehuda just dug up Rabbi Hananya, who holds of a new limud, Kiyonihu. The Tanakama doesn't agree with this limud because the Tanakama holds that Behema and Kelim are included. So the Tanakama ha Kiyonihu, my Ovid late. What is the Tanakama going to do with the words of Kiyonihu? So Gemara, Humi boyi lahaktim oni la'asher, to tell us that if you have an employee an oni and an employee an usher, pay the oni first. In my imagination, it's a little bit sticky in here. Okay, so I'm going to lower the temperature.
I felt
Because
it.
I'm not.
I felt it. I felt it when I came down the stairs and I walked down the hallway. I felt my shoe sticking to the floor almost.
So I sometimes I don't know if I'm. I
Okay.
don't want to freeze the place, but we will lower the temperature a little bit so we can get it to operate. Actually, China, it should start coming on. Okay, gewaltig. Zok to Gemara weiter. So the Tanakama are going to learn Kiyoniu to tell us that you pay an ani first. Rabbi Yosy bar Yehuda, who also must agree that you would pay an ani first. Where does he know it from? There's a different passage. The Tanakama, why do I need two psukim? You pay ani before you pay a usher, but you also pay an ani before you pay someone who's completely poverty-stricken. Utricha. And we need both psukim. The Ashminin Evyon, if we only knew that you pay an ani before an Evyon, Mishum Delay Kosav Lomitpeh. An Evyon has no pride. He is going to harass the Bailim until they pay him. So he doesn't need the protection of the Torah. And only is shy to ask, therefore he needs the protection of the Torah. Aval Osher, the Chosef, and the Osher who's embarrassed, Lemitve to claim, maybe you wouldn't pay an ani before an usher, and that's why the Torah has to tell you that you pay an ani before an usher. Maybe the reason why you pay the ani before the usher is the usher doesn't need the money. But the everyone needs it even more than the ani. Maybe the Torah's halacha should apply to it as well. Our Tana, who applies all the halachas to a ger toshev, I'm sorry, who does not apply all the halachas to a ger toshev. He does not apply Baal Tolim to a ger toshev, but he does apply it to the Hema and Kalim, Manavshich. He olive schir, and that's how he knows to include Behema v'Kalim, afilu ger toshev nami. So they should also be included in the prohibition. And he lo yalav schir, then Behema v'Kalim in Olay. Zokt Gemara lo'olam lo yalav schir. So how do the time of our Mishnah know that Behema v'Kalim are covered by Baal Tolim? Shani Hosam, the Amar Kra, v'lai Tolim pu'ulas schir itcha at haboiker, kol shapulas itcha. Anyone who's working with you, anyone who does work with you, you have to pay, and that includes a ger toshev. That includes, Behema and Kalim. They're also working with you. So why shouldn't they be covered by Baal Tolim? Amar Kra re'acha. It says re'acha. So itcha is marbe, it's marbe. Behema and Kalim. Re'acha is mamayit ger toshev. Maybe use re'acha to be mamayit behema v'kalim. Haksev itcha. So for the Gemara, we have a riba, we have a miyat. Maros l'ravas behema v'kalim. Why use the riba itcha for behema v'kalim? Well, hoitzi ger toshev and use re'acha to exclude a ger toshev. Zok the Gemara, mistaber behema v'kalim havelei l'rabbis. It's more mistaber to include behema v'kalim of a yid in the Isser Baal Tolim shekein yeshn b'chal mo'am re'acha, because re'acha is not mamayitem. Because if you don't pay a yid for a rental, you're also hurting re'acha, and therefore the svara is to include those in the prohibition. But ger v'toishav einoi b'chlal mo'am re'acha. I keep on saying ger v'toishav. It's ger toishav. Ger toishav einoi b'chlal moment reyacha. It's not reyacha, and that's why it's not included in the prohibition of altal. Correct the Gemara. The Tanakama, the meyachecha. The Tanakama who holds that skir includes everybody, even a ger toishav for everything. Hareyacha ma'avdilay. So what is he going to use reyacha to be memayit? So after Gemara, a complete goy is not covered by these isurim. Amaleki doesn't necessarily mean someone who we're mechuyev to kill. It means any real goy. For the Gemara, real goy, amaleki me'achecha nafka. It's all about achecha. So I don't need a special pasuk of reyacha. So Gemara, you need two psukim. Chad l'mishra oishkoy v'chad l'mishra gzela. Say you're allowed to hold back his pay, and say you're allowed to steal from him. Clearly, this Gemara holds Gezel Akim is mutter. I don't think we pass him that way. Utrichi, we need a pasuk to tell you that Gezel Akim is mutter. I wouldn't know it from the fact that Oishik is mutter, and I need a pasuk that Oishik is mutter because I wouldn't know it because Gezel is mutter. Because as follows: the Yashmin Gzelai Mishum Delay Tarich Pay. Maybe the reason why you could steal from a guy is because maybe whatever thing you stole from him, he never worked hard for. He harshened it. So maybe that we're not going to protect him for. He worked hard for you a full day. You're not going to pay him. Maybe the Torah is mechayiv you to pay. It's not so bad to withhold pay. You didn't take something from him. You didn't give him what's coming to him. You're literally violating him. You're going and taking something that he has. The Torah tells you in both cases is mutter. Rabbi Yosy bar Yehuda, Hai loy solen pulas schar itcha ad boiker my ovidle. And Rashi says the mar b'minei Tana Didon, our Tana uses this pasuk of Idcha to tell you the Haim of a Kela. Afal Gav, the Gzeir Shav Lagomer. Our Tana does not learn the Gzeir Shav of Skir, so he knows to include a Behemim Kelim and all the prohibitions. He knows it from Loisalim Puluschar Idcha. Idcha includes even Behemim of a Kelim. But Yosy bar Yehuda does not include Behemim Kelim. So how will he know? What will he do with Itcha? So tomorrow Mibayla Lechadabasi, Tamar Basi, Afilu Loy Sachra, Lifter, Loy Eshkal, Echat Shlonovim, over Mishum Baltolim. Even though he's not a Skiryoim, he's only working for a very short period of time, he's still covered by the issue of Baltolim, as our mission says. The Idach, what if you don't have this extra pasuk? Because you're the Tanakana or a Mishnah who needs this pasuk to include even Behemah V'Kelim. May the Elav who noise is nafshoy nafka. Rashi is called Shibid Atzmayalov. Anything that someone would be mishabed himself to somebody else to work, to do something for his friend for pay, he's covered by this halacha, and therefore he doesn't need the halacha, doesn't need the pasuk of Beitach. The Idach. And what about Rabbi Yosy bar Yehuda? How is he going to know? What is he going to do with the Elav Nois of Navshoy? The Elav Nois of Navshoy. Why did this worker risk his life? In those days, they didn't have the Ministry of Labor safety rules. So the worker is going to dangle himself off a tree to reach the fruit that he was hired to harvest, and he's going to take risks to complete the task that he's being paid for. Loyal schoroi, clearly, so that he should be able to get paid, and therefore you must pay him. Davar acher, another pshat is the elav who noises nafshoy. We learn from there kalakovish charasacher kilo noitel nafshoy mimen. It's as if you killed the person, as if you took his nefesh. Let's have a look at how Rashi makes a distinction between the two pshatim that we just learned, because they seem to be saying the same thing. The guy's working so hard for you, how are you not going to pay him? Zok Rashi, kol atzmai hu moiser nafshay alav. He gives him his whole self over. Lalois bekevish to go up the ramp, gavoya to go up a high ramp. V'sikein ba'atzma lipoil, and he put himself in danger of falling. V'litlois be'ilan to hang off a tree, kisha Allah alav, when he climbed the tree, limsoik zaysim, to harvest olives, v'ligdar tmorim, and to harvest dates. U'moser nafshay alav l'misa. He puts himself in grave danger in order to complete the job. Davar acher ve'elav unoises nafshoy upligi biha Rav Huna v'Rav Chisda. Rav Huna and Rav Chisda, the Gemara is shortly going to introduce. They're arguing about this. The mashma usa the kra in what the mashmois of the pasuk is. Chad, oh, you know what? I have to take back what I said. These two pshatim seem to be the same, and I don't know what the distinction is between the two. But what I think it means is the first pshat is you better pay him because he's giving his life up for you. The other pshat is by you not paying him, you're taking his nefesh away. I think that's what it means. So that's the distinction. So in the second pshat, by you not paying him, it's as if you're taking his nefesh away. It's as if like you're killing him. The way to understand the second pshat is subject to a machlokes Rav Huna and Rav Chisda. We're going to get to it in a second. Meaning, you're going to pay for it with your nefesh. If you take away his pay, you're going to pay for it with your nefesh. What it means is you're taking away the nefesh of the nigzal, and for that you'll get punished. It doesn't say what your punishment will be.
The pasuk doesn't refer to the dangerous nature of the work. Rather, the pasuk is concerned with harm that can befall the employee. He doesn't get paid.
Right, the employer, depending on if it's nafshe shel nigzal or nafshe shel gas. Right. Chadam, thank you very much. Chadam and nafshe shel schir, he's killing the worker, and therefore nenesh alav kilo hargai, the boss is punished as if he killed the worker. The chadam and nafshe shel gazlan higid locha kosov shegarim litza la'atzma. The elav anoises nafshe means by not paying him, you are actually risking your own life. So zok to Gemara. Mandam nafshe shel gazlan. If you hold it's nafshe shel gazlan, tichsiv, the pasuk says, al tigzal dal. Don't steal from a poor person. Kidalu, because he's poor. And Rashi says, af im dalu ve'ein lo ezer. Even though he's poor and helpless, and you can get away with it, al tigazle. Don't steal from him. Val tedake ani bishar, and don't pressure the ani in the gate. And then the pasuk says, "Uchsiv, you know why you shouldn't do this? Ki Hashem yorev rivam. Hashem will fight their fight. The kavas kaveim, which Rashi touches the goyzelas kezleim. Hashem will steal from those who stole from them. Uma yikvamehem, ma yikvamehem. What is Hashem going to steal from the one who steals from a poor person? Es nafsham. He's going to steal the life of the gazlan. Shegarimin hagazlonim ro la'atzman. The gazlonim are causing harm to befall them. So the kavas kaveim nefesh. How does Hashem get nekama on behalf of the dal? Nefesh, he takes the nefesh of the gazlan. That's how the mandamar holds nafesh shel gazlan. Mandamar nafesh shel nigzal, the chsiv it says, kein orchois kol boy tzea betza. This is the way of anybody who steals. Es nefesh ba'ayla vikach. He's taking the nefesh away from the owner of the property that he's stealing. If you hold this nefesh shel gazlan, the pasuk says you're taking away the nefesh of the nigzal when you're stealing it.
You still have your people there? You lost your whole screen. You still have your people
there? I believe so. This lost the screen,
yeah, okay.
But this didn't.
You still have your people. Okay.
Yeah, so
I don't care with that. I just want to make sure you still have your shoe.
This should when Akiva logs in, he logs in through GZL, which is as well. So sometimes it fights with it.
You were talking about Gazlonim, and then GZL popped up on the screen.
As in Gezel. Okay, Kavaltik. So how are you going to explain that if it's talking about the nefesh of the gazlan? That's Gemara Bail of the Hashta. It's nefesh Bail Vikach. It's going to end up causing the nefesh of the current Bailim post the Gzela, the person who has it now, which is the nefesh of the gazlan, will get lost. If you hold it to the nefesh of the nigzal, Nami Yaksiv Kaves Kaveim, Hashem is going to steal back on behalf of the poor person. What will he steal? Nefesh, the nefesh of the gazlan. So how could you say it's nefesh on nigzal? Zaktamar, we will learn that differently. Matam kam, matam kaves kaveim. The pasuk says kaves kaveim. Nefesh isn't what Hashem's taking. Nefesh is explaining why Hashem is fighting back for the Dal. Mishum the Natli Nefesh, because the Gazlan violated the Nefesh of the Nigzal by stealing his property. Zok the Mishnah Vayter. When is there an Isser of Baltolan? That's only if the employee is collecting. Ema bisman shetov. Loy tov eino over. Taner rabban. Loy solen pula socher. You're not allowed to leave his pay overnight. Yachal afilu loy tov. You might think even if he wasn't toveya, tam lomer itcha ledaitcha. That's only if it's unilateral. But if he's in agreement to let you pay him later, there's no violation. Yachal afilu ein loy. You might think even if the balabais does not have with what to pay, he's still going to be chayiv to pay, and it'll be over the lav. Tamad loimer itcha sheyesh itcha. You have the money, but you're not paying. Yachal afilu himcheyu etzel chavni ve'etzel shulchani. You would have thought that even though I told the shulchani and the chavni to give the employee goods or money based on what I owe him, you might think that would also still violate the Israel Solon if the employee wasn't paying on time. Zog the Gemara weiter. Iboilu. I'm sorry. Mcheyu etzel chenveni ve'etzel shulchani einay oiv. Iboilu. The Gemara closes the shaila. Chayzer or einay chayzer. What is this shaila of chayzer or einay chayzer? Zogt Rashi. Chayzer haschir etzel balabais imloy nosanachem. Now the balabais is absolved from the lav once he gives it over to the chem. But what if the chem didn't pay? Is there a recourse for the employee to come back and demand it from the owner? So his chayzer aschir etzel balabais imloy nosanachem v'ni v'nischayev balabais l'shalom, and the balabais would be mechuyev to pay or not. Rav Sheshes Omer einay chayzer, Rabba Omar chayzer. Rav Sheshes he can't go back, and Rabba holds he could go back. Omar Rabba, Zok Rabba, Mino Amin Allah. How do I know that the employee can go back after the Bailam if he wasn't paid by the Chemini or the Shulchani? The Katani einay over Allah. If the payment is delayed, the Balabais is not over. He's not over the lav. Ma'aver hu deloyovar. It doesn't say he's potter from paying. It just says that he's not over the lav. Mihadar hodar. But avada, the employee can still go back to the owner and claim the money. Rav Sheshes Omer, my ain't over, ain't b'taris laver. The reason why he's not over is because, in fact, the chiyuv has been completely discharged. Now, Tosfos struggles, as you can see, the long Tosfos, with what's going on over here. So let's have a quick look at Tosfos. We'll skim through it because it's very important to understand what this question is. Zok Tosfos, Heichad Amar Lei, Ani Poitrecha Lagamri. If the employee says, "Oh, you're having the payroll company pay me, you're having the bank pay me," right? That's like literally giving it over to a payroll company. Then Ani Poitrecha Lagamri, I'm totally discharging you from any obligation because you gave it over to what I would consider a rock solid institution. Afilu lo yitimi. Even if they don't pay me. If that was the case, surely I can't go back to the Bailam because I already broke my relationship with him. Now it's just between me and the bank. If you wouldn't agree to that, this is technically a mechila. In a case where he actually told the balabais, no problem, your responsibility is over, I'm going to deal with the bank. That's a mechila. How could that not work? How could there be a shaila of chayzer and chayzer? If you would say that the machlokes between Rabbah and Rav Sheshes is even in the case where he actually said, "Nah, I'm good with the deal with the bank," well, then the shaila really would be if a mechila needs a kinyan, because this is a mechila. So Pashas Tosfos assumes that mechila doesn't need a kinyan. If I'm moichel something to somebody, we don't have to make a kinyan. It works. If you're going to make the shaila here about mechila, whether it works, that would open up a shaila of mechila into kinyan, and that's not a shaila. So what is the shaila? If I said to the employer, "No, I'm not absolving you. If I get paid, I won't come back to you. But I still expect that you'll be responsible ultimately for paying me." Then Pshita the Chayzer. Kivan and Shulchani writes a little. Since the deal was, if he pays me, I won't go back to you. Now the Chevani or the Shulchani doesn't want to pay, of course I can go back. So what is the question about? The Poil just said, I'll accept it from the Shulchani. But he didn't clarify what his intention was. Am I Moichel you? Am I not Moichel you? And therefore, when we violate the Shaila is, what does someone mean when he just accepts to be paid by a third-party payroll company? Mi aminon dadati dahaki samach. What does a person mean when he accepts to be paid by a third party? Is he totally absolving the Bailam, and therefore he can't go back? Or is he not absolving the Bailam? He's just saying, right now, I'll go for it. So that's how Tosfos at first wants to understand the Shaila. For Tosfos, in time of Pshita, Shalei Potter Lagarmi. It's pashut that when I said, okay, I'll take the money from the payroll company, avada, my intention is not to pot to the bailam, and dafka mitain, dafka he gets paid, because technically, even if this commitment was made in front of all three of them, the shulchani has the full right to back out of the deal. Kivan she'ein labalabais biyodir lepikotin v'loy milva. V'chivan the yochel lachser, since the shulchani could back out, I'm not feeling very secure when you're delegating payroll to this company. We're not dealing with idiots. No employee would allow his pay to become so jeopardized. So therefore, Tosfos doesn't understand what is the Shiloh here. The case is patro legamri, and therefore, umischayev loy shulchani midin arev, and the shulchani takes on a din of arev, and he actually can't back out. The cheshem askima ilay shulchani havik omer smoich alai upoter balabayis legamri, and therefore he blibes like an arev, and therefore in the case of stoma, maybe in fact he is absolving the balabayis. Uadin the matzal maboy im shulchani yachalach saboyim lav to habatalya. So really, the whole shaila is, can the shulchani back out? If the shulchani can back out, then for sure it's chayzer. If the shulchani cannot back out, then he's not chayzer. And Tosfos brings a right from here that mechila ain't a tzorich kinyan, because over here there's no kinyan. But Tosfos says another pshat. When we went in the fires, ani poitrecha emitin loy them loy achzer lech. So then, what's the shaila? What's the tzat to say that ain't a chayzer? Upligi calls man shaloi chayzer by shulchan. The shulchan says, no, I'm still going to pay you, but he hasn't paid yet. Before the shulchan he pays, im yochel lachser al balabayis. So those are the different shatim that Tosfos discusses over here. Okay, let's go weiter. Zok the Hedlik Gemara. Boy minay merapsheshes. Kabbalonus. I'm not paying you by the hour. I'm paying you $500 to fix my silver candelabra. Over alav mishum baltolin, or ain't over alav mishum baltolin. Is there a chiv of baltolin by a kabbalonus? Someone hires me to put a furnace into their house. That's kabbalonus. Is there an issue baltolin? Actually, my example was a very bad example. The case is, if somebody gives me a candelabra to repair, it was broken, and they gave it to me to repair. And the question is umen koine b'shvachli, if by repairing your candelabra, I'm koine it, and now you're not paying me for my work, you're paying me because you have to buy back your keli, and therefore, v'halvoi, I gave you a keli and you didn't pay me to regular halva. It's not an employee-employer relationship. That's why installing a furnace is not a good example, because there's no shvach kli there, right? Or maybe he's not koine, and you're paying me for my work, and therefore the halachas of baltolin would apply. Amalu Rav Sheshes paskin without even analyzing it over. He's for sure over umen koine b'shvach. Correct the Gemara. Now I just stuck that in. Sheshes says it's over because umen ain't koine b'shvachli. Sheshes didn't say anything about umen koine b'shvachli. He said you're over in baltolin. Correct the Gemara about Tanya ain't over. We had another brayso that says you're not over by kabbalonus. The Gemara hasom shemcheu etzel chemveni etzel shulchni. There was a case where after the Uman gave back the Keli, the Balabai says the Shulchani or the Chavni is going to pay you, and like our Mishnah says, even by a Schiryoim, that avoids the Isurim of Batal. Zokim name him Messiah. Let's think if we can bring a raya to our Psheshis. Hanoijin Talise lo You gave your talus to an Uman to fix. So there's a Shvach Keli over here. Gomra, the Uman completed his work. The idea, and he notified the owner, please come pick up your baguette. Afilu mikan v'dasor yomim until the owner actually picks up the garment from the Uman, there's no Baltal. But once he picked it up, even though it's midday, Mishashaka Olav Chama over Mishum Baltal. They would be over Baltal. So you have a raya, in fact, like Rav Shesha says, that you're over in Baltal. The Amrit Uman Koine B'Shvachli, if the old Uman Koine B'Shvachli, and therefore there would not be an issue of Baltalin. Am I over? Rav Mori Bared Rav Kana. Maybe we're speaking about a Keli that there was no Shvacha. And that's why over here it's over. Maybe speaking by Gardner the Sarbala, which is some heavy beged that you comb it out, and that doesn't create a Shvach. Frek to Gemara, Lamai Yav Heli. So what exactly did you give it into the Uman for? L'rekuche, to soften it up. So it's obviously a benefit to the beged, because if not, why is someone giving it in? No, I didn't give it to you to do a process on it, and I'm paying you for the result of that process, which would be kablanus. Rather, it's the agramine levatushe bacha ubacha b'mos. They would hang it and then they would stamp it, or maybe when it was in water, they would stamp it, but they would stamp it, and I'm paying you per stamp. For 100 stamps, I give you $100. I give you $100 per stamp. Doesn't mean a postage stamp. I mean you stamp on it, or you hit it with a club. So therefore, it was a case of schirus. So you don't have a raya. Now this child of Uman Kain B'Shvachli is a very interesting. There's a very interesting machlokes in the Achronim. Being a Trumas Hadeshin, and I forgot who the other Achron was. When we say Uman Kain B'Shvachli, I have a broken silver candelabra and I gave it in. Is the Uman Kain the whole keli? Now he owns the whole thing, or maybe he only owns what he added to it. That is the shayla. Lamai nafkamina. So it's a very interesting shayla as follows. Tosfos discusses if you gave something to an Uman, a goy, and you got it back. Tosfos says pashtus, you would have to toivel it, because look, you got a keli from a goy. Tosfos says the reason why you don't have to toivel it is because Lamaisa, it was always Shem Yisrael Nikra Alecha. Even when you went to the Uman, the tag on it said Simon. It said first. So it was always called by the Bible. But on that, Tosfos seems to say there would be a problem that if you gave it to an Uman, a goy, you would have to toivel. Now, if the guy is only owning the Shvach Kli, maybe why would you have to toivel it? Memela, if you hold Uman Koine B'Shvach Kli, he's Koine the whole Keli, that I would understand. But if the Uman is only Koine a small portion of it, why would that necessitate tefillah? So that is the discussion. And the other Madamer held, no, maybe even a partial ownership of the guy would necessitate tefillah. And then they're medayik in the lashon. It says ein umen koine b'shvachli. If the discussion is only if they're koine the shvach, the shaila should be is umen koine shvachli or is umen not koine shvachli. Umen koine b'shvachli is mashma he's koine the whole kli because of the shvachli. Umen koine b'shvachli. So that is what they're arguing about. If it's koine b'shvachli or not. No. It should say umen koine shvachli. The umen is koine shvachli. What do you mean? It's koine in the shvach. It's koine the shvach. But if you learn b'shvach means on behalf of the shvach, he's koine the kli, then it makes sense b'shvach. I mean, of course, the other sheet holds exactly how you explained it. So I'm just throwing out the two sides of the shaila, but I don't think either way it would be relevant to our sugya here. Okay, let's turn on to Kofi Beis, Amid Beis. Schir bizmanoi nishpa b'noi. Zok Gemara, schir amai tekidu le rabbanon l'mishtaba v'shah. Why are they misakin for him that he swears and takes rather than let the denier swear and pater himself? Amar Rabbi Shmuel, halachos gedolos shanukan. Now halachos gedolos, Rashi says, means halacha l'moshe Sinai. These aren't halachas l'moshe Sinai. Hani takonis nu. They're takonis to take away the shvua from the nitva and put it onto the teveya. Al Amr Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel takonis gedolos shanukan. Fragt ma gedolos. Machlal dika tanos. Is there a big gzeira, small gzeira? What is this? Al Amr Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel takonis kavuos shanukan. What does takonis kavuos mean? Rashi says royu la'asois and keva. It makes sense to make sure that the takana la'akar alayim dover min ha-Torah, to be oiker dover min ha-Torah. The midaraisa mi sheyesh alav l'shalem, meaning the nitva hu nishba. T'chsev alacha b'alav lo yishalem. The hacha shaklu l'shuv b'alabais v'shad yu aschir. Frek toisus abom b'dikakash. What happened over here? The worker says, you owe me money, you owe me my pay. And the Bible says, I paid you. Right? That's Koi for a Koil. Where's their Shvu Deraisa for Koi for a Koil? So why does Rashi say Shaklu lo Shvu Balabayis? The Midaraisa B'Sheish Le'Lav L'Shalom Nishba. Over here, there's no Shvu Deraisa at all. So Tosfos struggles with it. Tosfos ends up saying that since it could have been a Shvu Deraisa, meaning even if the Balabayis said, "I owe you part of the money," we would still take the Shvu away from him, and that's why it's referred to in this fashion. Why did we do it? Mishum Kedei Chayav D'Schir. Because the owner is likely not to remember, and the schir is he needs this money to live with. That's why we made it the contract. Practically, Gemara, I don't understand. That's a license to steal. You're being mafsed the balabayis. Maybe the balabayis is not paid already. Zok to Gemara, no. Balabayis gufei nichala. The balabayis is happy to let the teveya, to let the employee swear, and he will pay them again. The mishtav is sacher v'shakol. Why? If he has a reputation that he thinks he paid when he didn't, and now he's not going to pay, it's going to be hard to find employees. An employee is going to look it up on his record, because there's websites that tell you about different employers, and it's going to say this is an employer who often thinks he paid you when he didn't, and you're going to not get paid. Nobody's going to want to get a job in this company, so therefore the owner doesn't mind. For tomorrow, it's a two-way street. The schir is the same way. Maybe he doesn't want to swear and take, because then employers, when they ask for references, the previous employer will say, "Oh, this guy, he always munds you for payment, even though you paid already," and he gets to swear, and it's going to cost you double time every time. So the poil might not want this advantage because it might harm his employment prospects. So tomorrow, Balbayis al Korche Agar. The Balbayis has no choice. He needs employees. The worker is not working for fun. He needs parnosa. He has to do it as well. So they're both on even ground. So we don't have an explanation why we should give this advantage to the worker. The teretz is we knew this answer all along, but now the Gemara is bringing it out through the Shaklavitaya. The Balabais is more chashud that he'll forget because he's busy with so many workers. Frank Gemara, if that's the case, and we don't think he has nemonas because he doesn't even know, so so let them be able to take from him even without a shvu. Zok to Gemara, no, that much we wouldn't do because we still, the Balbai still feels bad that they're taking away from him. So at least if they swear, he'll feel that, okay, maybe I did forget. Frank Gemara, why do you need to make the takana of a shvua? Make a simple takana. Make a rule that whenever you pay, you got to pay with Eidim. And then it's a non-issue. If I can't bring Eidim that I paid, then I have to pay again. It's very tedious to schlep Eidim every time you want to pay an employee. So why don't, at the beginning of the day, when everyone's all together, have two Eidim there and pay at the beginning of the day? Both people want to pay later. And the reason for that is very, very simple. The owner wants to pay later so that he can come up with money. The worker wants to be paid later because he doesn't want to be paid and then work a whole day. He'll drop the money. I'm a true HR professional. So if that's the case, even if there's an argument about how much we agreed would be the pay for today, why don't you say the same thing? The balabais can't remember, and the poil should be able to swear and collect. Aloma Tanya, why did we learn in a brisa? There you say, and you don't say that the poil remembers better and he gets to swear and take. Ketzitza people do remember. We say that only until he's over the lav, only there will you say that the poil could swear and collect. But once it passes that point, there's an assumption that the Bailam did pay already, and therefore he doesn't swear. Alamat nan over zman einay nishba benoitel. The Gemara because chazaka in balabayis over mishum baltol. Fact Gemara, but what do you mean? Via amrit balabayis tarad b'poyalav. So that would negate the chazaka of chazaka in balabayis over mishum baltol. So hanamili mikamei the limtaya zman chiyuvei. Before the deadline, yes, maybe the owner won't be sure. Aval motazman chiyuvei. Once the deadline has arrived, Rami and Abshei, there the balabais will focus. Umitka and he'll remember. Frag the Gemara, v'chischir over mishum bal sigzoil. Why aren't you worried the other way? The schir wouldn't steal, so therefore, why is it that we make him swear he wouldn't steal? Let him have an amonish. That chazaka should allow him to collect. Zaktamora tasam trei chazaki. The Bailam have two chazakas. Hacha chad chazak. Kabe balabayis ikatrei chazaki. Chada the ein balabayis over mishum baltolim. There's a chazaki won't be over. The chada the ein schir masha schare. The schir won't allow his schar to wait and be so overdue. Hacha chad chazaka, and here you only have one chazaka giving him an amonis after the zman, and that is that he's not a gazlan, and therefore the two chazakas of the Bailim trumps the one chazaka of the poil. So there's a very important kash over here. 1 second. There was a shiloh of amigo over here. One second. There was a shiloh of amigo. It's going to get a little complicated. We'll go to the Mishnah instead. Otherwise, I was going to learn the Tosos. Because Dr. Gemara, Frank the Gemara, I don't understand. What do you mean there's Adam? But Katavu, come on, isn't that what's happening over here? He's monning the Balabais. The Balabais said he paid. So I need Adam. We're in Bezin, he's money. Dr. Gemara, Amar Abasi, Shatava Bismanoi. We need Adam to say that even before the time the deadline arrived, he was money. Because we said after the deadline, we no longer allow the poil to swear. Unless there were Adam that he was Teveya, meaning Teveya Bismanai. He was already Teveya before the deadline. We have Adam that he was, therefore we'll allow him to be Teveya after the deadline. Frank Demore, what's the riot? The Dilma Labas Achipara. Maybe the deadline was 9 p.m., that was when the day was over, and he was Teveya at 7 p.m. How do you know that between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. he wasn't paid? Omer Abaye, Shatave calls Mana. You need Adam that showed that he was Teveya from 7 until the deadline, so there's no possibility that the Balabais would have paid. So the question is, are you telling me that once he has Adam, that he was moneying him from 2 hours before the deadline until the deadline, that now even if he comes back 6 weeks later to collect, we will still let him swear and collect? Meaning he has 1 day. So if he has Adam that he was Teveya the whole day of the actual Chiyuv, the first day, up until the time that the Balabais is over lav, then we'll give him 1 day. He'll get 1 extra day to be able to swear and take. But it doesn't last forever because maybe the Balabais would have paid in between. Okay, Gavaltik, let's stop here and we'll be Mamshach Bez Hashem tomorrow.
Yosy?
Yes.
You were doing this picture-in-picture thing